So these are some of the definitions, the general definitions that you'll see and that have been used in research. So first we have Gail Peterson, who said that internalized oppression is the incorporation and acceptance by individuals within an oppressed group of the prejudices against them within the dominant society. So basically, internalized oppression is something that is messages are given to us, we internalize them and accept them, according to Peterson. So incorporation and acceptance. According to Suzanne Lipsky, who has done research and writing about internalized oppression in gender issues, again says that internalized racism has been the primary means by which we have been forced to perpetuate and agree to our own oppression. So in that definition, you know, it does indicate that internalized oppressive messages are forced on a person, but then again, still makes it seem as though people voluntarily agree to be oppressed and accepting of that. So it's really important that we look at the narrative and who is writing the narrative about experiences such as internalized oppression. The third, by Paulo Freire, is the oppressed having internalized the image of the oppressor and adopted his guidelines are fearful of freedom. So again, Paulo Freire is more about liberation and understanding the psychological impact of oppression and uses the word adopt versus agree or accept. So, you know, really important that we pay attention to the narrative that's used in these definitions, but these are the general definitions. Now, if you look at some of the writings of W.E.B. Du Bois and Frantz Fanon, who is a psychiatrist, a French psychiatrist who was West Indian as well, we see more of a personal experience with oppression, and which focuses more on the aspect of it that is not accepted voluntarily, of course, but is forced on an individual. So according to W.E.B. Du Bois, it is a particular sensation that is double consciousness, the sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. Okay, so that is the feeling on the part of the person experiencing this internalized oppression. Frantz Fanon said, the oppressed will always believe the worst about themselves. So as you get the personal views of internalized oppression, you also see the impact on the psyche as well as our emotional state. So these personal descriptions versus definitions of internalized oppression really get at the heart of the psychological impact and emotional impact. As I integrate the concept of internalized oppression into my instruction with MSW students, I have, we understand that having scenarios or case studies or scenarios are a very helpful teaching tool. So these are just some very simple examples that I've edited a little bit and made shorter for this session that really look at how internalized oppression actually impacts the person as well as us as a people of color. So, for example, Jacqueline and Genesis are fraternal twins. Jacqueline receives more praise and compliments from family members due to her curly hair, light eyes, and lighter skin tone. So this internalized message that having these physical aspects make you prettier and more white-like, which is equated to prettier. And so that's an internalized oppressive message that still exists today. So what happens is Genesis is left feeling as though she and other girls of color that look like her are not beautiful, and it adheres to the stereotype that whiter is better. And so not only does this impact Jacqueline and Genesis, but it also impacts our community, and we can see evidence of this, just in our lives. It's not just on a micro level, but also on a meso and macro level.